everyone, and welcome to Dr. Pillai's Genius Brain Academy live events. We're talking today about how to support our children to activate their genius brains effortlessly while becoming super parents ourselves. So I'm a parent, and I know for a lot of us that are parents or have children in our lives, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, we want to support the children in our lives to become exceptional. We want to support them to fully realize all of their dreams and goals, to live peacefully and happily, and to contribute something meaningful to the world around them. So what we're going to be talking about today is how can we as parents continue to support our children in that journey? And here to help us look into that is Sunny Dasgupta. Welcome, Sunny, to our call. Sunny is a Genius Brain Academy mentor, and he's been personally mentored by Dr. Pillai in phonemic intelligence, brain-changing technology. Thanks so much for being here with us, Sunny.
Thank you for inviting me, Chantal.
Great. So let's start off by talking a little bit about this concept of what the Genius Brain Academy is and the idea of effortless development. I feel like for a lot of people, this might feel like a really big concept, and I'd love to break it down a little bit.
Sure. So we have to understand what genius is. And like we discussed in the last webinar, genius is extraordinary intelligence. And so I need to expand more on what is intelligence. Dr. Pillai has formulated this over, almost 40 years of his own teaching career, starting with his work at the University of Pittsburgh, and later on in his own teaching career, and having worked with so many, educational institutions in the world. So the two types of intelligence that he, divides intelligence into, one is cultivated intelligence, okay? And we go to, which is basically academic training. Most of the time when people go through schools and colleges, universities, they pick up this training. Either to become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, etc. So that's one type of training. And some people are also self-taught. So this is one type of training where your intelligence is trained in a narrow area. The type of, and this is what most people have access to, most people develop. But what will really make you a genius is the type of intelligence that Dr. Pillai calls as natural intelligence. Natural intelligence implies that it is something that is natural to us. It is already there. It doesn't have to be trained. It doesn't have to be cultivated. Perhaps it needs to be accessed. Perhaps we are not tapping into it. And if you look at every field, if you look at people who had very limited formal education, but they have invented amazing discoveries for the world. There are people who have made breakthroughs in sciences who are not, particularly academically savvy, who did not get the highest test scores, but they are the ones we recognize as geniuses. In the world of business, there are college dropouts who have become more successful than those who have even a PhD, in an MD or a PhD. So in every field, you can see a genius is not someone who is only relying on education, formal education, academic training, cultivated intelligence, but those who can bring this additional element of natural intelligence, okay? And so here, let me talk a little bit about this natural intelligence that can make you a genius. Dr. Pillai gives an example of a sunflower. A sunflower turns towards the sun. That is intelligence, and that intelligence is part of nature. Then you look at a green leaf, photosynthesis is happening. That is intelligence, right? You see that two dogs, get into a fight and they're barking and they're making sounds, but the other dog is able to understand. And so they're communicating through sounds, and they have, that is intelligence. That sound means something to them. We as a human, if you're a human being, you won't be able to understand, but a dog will. So there is intelligence in nature at every level. Wherever you, especially in animate life, there is intelligence. Similarly, there is also intelligence within us. And this intelligence is within certain parts of the brain, which and certain neurons that we don't exercise, that we don't activate, and we don't have any education while growing up to activate this. But some individuals are fortunate, consciously, unconsciously, they're able to tap into the natural intelligence. And that is really the golden key for their exceptional achievements in life and in their impact to the world. So we use a very natural process, natural technique called phonemic intelligence, which is really going deep into the study of intelligence and how sound and meaning come together, create intelligence. So fundamentally, there Dr. Pillai has done research at Harvard, Brain Science International, and other institutions where he has found that using simple sounds, for example, some vowels like E, I, that children are taught, you can actually activate specific parts of the brain and bring more activation, more alertness, more blood flow into those regions of the brain, bringing your natural intelligence, tapping into natural intelligence, as well as being able to improve the cultivated intelligence or the specific intelligence like math, physics, chemistry, liberal arts, your memory, your focus, all of these. So this is a program for overall development, which combines natural intelligence development and cultivated intelligence.
Great. So it sounds like what you're sharing a little bit is that this concept of becoming a genius and developing your genius brain is really applicable to anybody. Is that right?
Yes. Applicable to anyone. You already have it. It is an untapped resource, humongous resource within us. And all that it requires is 10-15 minutes of daily practice to tap into it. And, then you will begin to see changes in your capability. We have so many, documented anecdotes and testimonials. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people see visible changes in their performance, in their focus, in their memory, in their sharpness, in their alertness, in their creativity, in their intuition. So we know it. That is why we call it effortless. A few minutes a day, and within a short period of time, you begin to see change.
Just 1 minute. I think we lost Sunny for just a minute there.
Yeah, I think I dropped off.
Back. I think you fell off for a minute.
Yeah.
So you were sharing the benefits of the genius brain and some of the improvements.
Yeah, and I just want to say, the question always comes up: can everyone be a genius? There used to be a question that dominated research for many years, which was, are you a born genius, or do you develop into a genius? It's like saying, are you a born leader, or do you develop into a leader? Right? I mean, if we just talk about leadership, we know that there's some people who are charismatic and who have leadership, who display leadership qualities from the very beginning. But the greatest leaders, if you look at their life, they had to develop themselves. So even if a person is genius, or rather they are very bright and intelligent, they can still have there's a lot of room for development. And across the board, nature has given every human being with 100 billion neurons at birth. So we all are born with the brain capacity in an equal playing field. And what happens over a period of time is each of us uniquely have a unique brain development based on our own life experiences and the kind of parenting environment or the educational environment or the social friendship environment that we're exposed to, and our own effort. So everyone has the potential, and it is not hard at all, especially when you use Dr. Pillai's phonemic intelligence techniques. You will be able to not only achieve greater states of focus, creativity, memory, being able to comprehend what you're thinking or studying or contemplating, but you will be able to see that your intuition opens up. That means you will be able to think out of the box. See, a common difference between a genius and a common person. A common person, the moment they encounter something for which they don't have a ready-made answer, meaning there is no answer available in a textbook or what they have learned, they don't have an answer to a question, whether it's a career problem, a life problem, or a mathematical problem, they simply give up. But a genius doesn't give up. They also hit upon, they also hit a wall many times and they can't figure it out. But they continue to focus. Their focus is so powerful that they eventually have a breakthrough. So, one of the things we'll teach in the program is how to develop deeper and deeper levels of focus. And you will find that focus is not just about sustaining. We will teach children how to sustain their attention over a period of time, but also how to use focus to discover something new, how to use focus to create something new. So both for invention and discovery, focus can be refined and strengthened and used for higher functions such as invention and discovery. Similarly, your intuition has to be developed. Your creativity has to be developed. There should be a natural flow of creative ideas. We should not experience blocks. Whenever we experience a mental block, that means we have not yet learned how to tap into the natural intelligence.
I love this definition of the genius brain. I think traditionally people might think of the word genius as in a very narrow light or with a very narrow definition. But this is really a more expressed definition of what genius is and what it brings to your life. I want to go back a little bit to what you talked about when we first started, which was this idea of effortless kind of creation. Because for a lot of people who might not know about phonemic intelligence technology or how the Academy works, help us bridge that gap a little bit. Is it really something that's relatively simple and that anybody can achieve, and how does that part work?
I'll give two examples. There are two people I'm working with right now. One is a lawyer and the other is a surgeon. I asked the lawyer, why did you join this program? They are in the adult, personal training, intelligence training program with me. He said that he has 12 hours, he has to do 12 hours of reading every day. And I said, what do you read for 12 hours a day? He said he has to read law. He has a bunch of cases that he's working on. He has to read extensively on legal cases and the law, not only new development in law, but what has, previous cases, and figure out which law will apply to which scenario. Right. And then there's a surgeon. I asked her what, she's a surgeon, very accomplished surgeon. I asked her, why are you in the program? And she said, because I want to develop greater focus, greater clarity. And she said that when she had trained herself in Pillai many years ago in a program with us, it had really improved her speed and clarity and focus. She wants to get back that level of clarity and focus, right? And within 1-2 sessions, I see whenever people do the genius techniques that I'm teaching from the developed by Dr. Pillai, the immediate shift, and it happens within 1 to 2 weeks. I have always found people coming within 2 weeks and saying that changes happen. Most people say it within a week, they come back and report, most people. So it is simple matter of focusing for 10-15 minutes a day, and it is not stressful focus, right? It relaxes you. We have proof. We did our first research at SRM Medical University in India was that the cortisol level, when you do these techniques, the cortisol level in the blood comes down. Cortisol is the stress hormone, right? It's the chemical that is measured to know your stress level. So there is proof that it reduces stress. So you calm down, you relax. Your hyperactivity of the mind relaxes. Your obviously focus improves. Your stress comes down, focus improves. And then you activate key parts of the brain, which are for decision making, memory, focus, creativity, intuition. So you are not only calming down, you're also activating yourself. So it is not like mindfulness and other practices where you just relax. You are becoming alert. and you're bringing your latent faculties of the brain into greater activation. So it's an amazing combination of rest, yet activating the brain. So that is that is the meeting point between rest and activity. That is the genius intelligence. That's where the natural intelligence works. So if you will have performance without stress, genius without stress, without overworking yourself. If you're overworking yourself, that means you're using less creativity, less intelligence, and more effort. Right? I mean, so the genius cuts down labor, cuts down effort, and produces great, like Dr. Pillai says, work less and you accomplish more.
Yeah. Sounds like the genius brain is applicable for everybody and so very important. Let's talk a little bit more about parents. What's our role in this in supporting our kids, and how can we improve ourselves? It sounds like from your share of adults that you're working with now, it's something that perhaps even parents can do.
Absolutely. So parents, this is for parents who want, and I know most parents or almost all parents want what is best for their children, that goes without saying. But there are parents who recognize that the common tutoring program, or the best, you can put your kid in the best school or the best tutoring program, coaching class, but it's not enough, because the burden and stress and the workload or the academic load is so heavy, and you have to, as a parent, race against time, right? Your child is racing against time, you're racing against time, and in the whole process, your child may not be the happiest child that they can be. They don't get to enjoy their childhood or their teenage years, because the load is so much. And so being a busy parent that most of you are, we have developed a program where you can also join with your child, your teenage child in this case, and just 10-15 minutes a day. And some techniques will take even 5 minutes a day. You sit down, do the technique with them. It does two things. One, not only the technique will help your child, but also help you, right? So it's a great technique for your self-care, for you to activate your intelligence as well, your genius intelligence. And number two, it reassures the child that this is something very important, that my mom and dad or my grandparent, they are also taking it seriously, right? So we recommend that if possible, spare the 5 to 10 minutes, sit with your child and do this with them. It will encourage them, they will take it seriously, and you will also feel that, hey, you will also see what the program is about and also benefit from it yourself. I have worked with people of all ages, like I mentioned, the first person I taught PI to, her age was 84. 80, yes, she was 84, And in fact, the first person I coached, she was 90-year-old. So I have worked with Piana. I have a client right now, she's 76-year-old. So I give PI to all of them. So PI is not age specific. Okay, but we have techniques for different age groups, but PI will work across the board for everyone, because the sounds activate those parts of the brain. No matter what the technique we give you, the sounds will activate that part of the brain. Whether you're a child, whether you're a 7-year-old or 77-year-old, it will work across the board.
Yeah, that's great. When you and I spoke yesterday for a little bit, you were expressing the concept of it really kind of being progressive parenting, and the difference in learning something new for ourselves and how you pass on something new to your own kids, and how every generation kind of does that for the generation that comes after them. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Absolutely. So we have to understand the process of learning itself and how it happens at home, right? A child is born with 100 billion neurons, with a brain that has been developing over 70, 80 million years, and there are different estimates of this. And the question is, why does a child have to be taught everything? Why doesn't the brain, which has evolved over so many years, Why doesn't it immediately know this is water, this is fire, this is the sky, this is a table? Why doesn't it know that? It doesn't. Although it has the raw potential, everything has to be taught to a child, right? And some of it is taught, some of it the child picks up on their own, you know. So as a child from infancy grows up, they are being taught the value system, the belief system, the decision-making pattern of their parents or their siblings, or people around them. Okay, so it's true that education begins at home. So unless you tell your child that water, this is water, they will not know that this is called water, that is called fire, right? We have to teach everything to them. So you have to understand that you have already impacted your child. Your child has already absorbed. So whether, you may not be a teacher, but you are their teacher if you're their parent. So now for parents who are conscious of their impact on the children and they want to take this to the next level, Dr. Pillai has recommended that the parents also learn the Genius program. There's a program for adults that they can do so that they grow, and now you can bring Genius as an education in your home, that you inspire your child to recognize themselves as a genius, and to live that, because that will give a tremendous self-esteem. Confidence is a big problem. We see children, right, who are smart, brilliant, some of them, right, great qualities. They really understand the subject. They are creative, but they are shy, right? They lack confidence. So when they begin to recognize that, oh, it's so easy, they begin to see that their natural intelligence comes up, and their brain, they start getting new ideas. Learning becomes easy for them. Their stress comes down. They will naturally aspire to greater achievements in life. They will naturally want to set greater goals. So in one of the tenets of this program or the academy is passion, right? What is passion? We have to think about that. What is passion? People say find your passion, but that finding of passion is a different thing. But what is passion? Passion is the ability to maintain focus even on the worst days, right? The days where you get a bad grade on your test, all right, and you don't give up. You continue to focus on what you want to accomplish, right? That is passion. Passion is every day of your life, you maintain your focus. You don't allow the day to drown you and you lose your focus. And that we teach that, how to have passion. And when a child has passion, they will excel and they will be exceptional. And people will recognize them for that. So at least I can talk about the adults, which is a program we already started. One of them came to me after 2 weeks and said, people have started paying attention to him. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm getting the respect that I deserve for my position. So, that's because his whole self-esteem has gone up. So that will reflect in his, interactions with others. So that's what I would say.
That's amazing. And I think you've touched on a lot of things that every parent hopes for. We hope for really well-rounded kids, kids that, yes, have practical skill sets like being able to focus and take care of their schoolwork, but even seeing much further beyond that when school is done and they're out in the world and they're able to kind of realize their own dreams and their own goals, right? Let's talk a little bit about the Academy itself. For people that might not have seen the last live event, the Academy is very unique. It really has a process that's, we've talked about phonemic intelligence technology a little bit, which is certainly a very unique component to that. But I think the journey that the kids go through, even in the, what's happening right now is a 5-week introductory course, but it's very unique and very exciting. I think it's a lot of fun. Can we talk about that a little bit and what parents would expect if their kids join the Academy?
Sure. Let me give you some of the unique highlight, features of this program. One of the things we do, expose the students to what the geniuses, world-renowned geniuses like Einstein, Madame Curie, Edison, Tesla, Ramanujan, Shakespeare, what these geniuses have to say about genius itself. Darwin, I was looking at Darwin. Darwin talks about he credits all his success to one quality. He says that paying keen attention to the minutest detail, right? That is, he says, that is what he consciously developed. In his autobiography, he talks extensively about it. And over again. Da Vinci, what does Da Vinci talk about? He talks about curiosity. He calls it curiosita. Curiosita, I think, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. That is, he talks about that. That led him to everything. Einstein talks about that all his discoveries came to him not by thinking logically and rationally like everybody else does, but through intuition, right? Tesla says that Tesla talks, he has said about his own self, his focus. When he was a kid, whenever he would even think of a banana, he would actually be able to see a banana in his mind's eye. His focus was so tremendous. To think of something, he would be able to immediately see it vividly. That was, so you can see each of the geniuses have a quality or several qualities that led to their being so exceptional. So we are going to show, we teach what the geniuses themselves have said about their own genius and the key to their success. That's very inspiring and instructional to know that. Then we talk about the lives of these geniuses. Almost all of them, I think, if not all of them were, they hit roadblocks. They had obstacles in their life, right? Most of them started out not as prodigies, not as, people whose geniuses recognized from day one. They developed as geniuses over a period of their lifetime. And sometimes recognition came much later, like for Einstein. He had to wait many years, to get recognized. So how they struggled, how they overcame their struggle, and how they succeeded, right? Those are very inspiring stories. So these are 5-week beginners programs. So we'll have a few stories. We'll introduce you to a few geniuses, to your children. Then we have specific genius techniques for whole brain activation, global brain activation. We have a module called how to think like a genius and how to activate your brain for genius. And in these are two separate modules. In these two modules, we talk about actual thought processes that were used by these geniuses. So Edison had his method of coming up with ideas. Einstein used to do a lot of thought experiments on light, on the nature of time, space, gravity to come up with these breakthroughs. Tesla has his own methods. There are some inspiring ways in which Madame Curie had breakthrough in her work in chemistry. So we are going to bring all of that, and your child will actually practice, do the thought experiments of Einstein, right? And they will actually do what Edison used to do and actually implement that. And that itself will expand their mind, will stretch their mind to actually think and work on problems like these geniuses did. And then, like I said, the PI technology, which is some genius techniques that we'll introduce. Those will be number one for global whole brain activation. Bring the whole brain to light up. The whole brain lights up within seconds. This was done through research through brain mapping at Harvard University by the team there and by Dr. Pillai. So we have that technique, and we also have a technique for activating certain parts of the brain, like the cerebellum, which is where 80% of the neurons of the brain are in the cerebellum, right? And nobody teaches us how to use the cerebellum, how to have 80% of your brain's power is here in a small area at the back of your head, and nobody teaches how to activate that, how to use that. So the yogis in India knew how to do that, and Dr. Pillai has developed his own genius technique on how to activate that part of the brain and bring that creativity, intuition, natural genius intelligence and brain power, which is in the cerebellum, to make it available to us within seconds. So that is a fantastic training and a very precious technique that your child can make use of and immediately see the changes within themselves. So these are some of the ways what the genius have to say about their own genius, the stories of the inspiring stories of the geniuses, the genius techniques to activate the brain. And then we have also a module which we call as Enter the Genius Avatar. So your child actually, not so once we have inspired them, given them the tools to tap into their own genius, now it's time for them to apply them into a project of their choice. It will be something short, something simple. We will ask them, some of them can choose to create a piece of art, can choose to create a piece of literature. Someone can try to apply it to solving a math problem. So whatever, they want to work on global warming, whatever they want to solve or invent or create or discover, or innovate. That is something we'll be teaching, how to think outside the box, how to be innovative. Innovation is the people who have succeeded and who are succeeding in this economy are innovators. Are not people who are the most educated, but people who are the most innovative. So that's something we have a lot of emphasis on in this program. So that is the module where the kids get to be innovative, come up with solutions, come up with their own insights and apply it, and show to their peers in the program, showcase their work. And that's a great enrichment where they can see each other and give feedback to each other. So we'll have each child give feedback on the work of every other child. And so that's a place where they get to learn how to present, how to stand up and speak. We mentor them, we coach them for that final module. And that is how we bring the program to its climax. And then after this program, we are going to create a process through which you and your child can be in touch with us for ongoing training, development, coaching, mentoring, and support as well. So this is not just something we start and we will end, but we are invested with you in your child become a genius and you become a super parent. And if you choose to be a genius yourself, we would love to work with you in our adult program and help you in the process as well.
I love the excitement and the energy around this program. I have 3 teenage kids myself at home, and the curriculum is so different. I know that for my kids, they're really studying a lot. They're preparing for exams. They have a lot of heavy academic material. And this experience is so different from that. It almost pulls you out of that, puts you in a different mindset, a lot of relief from anxiety. I have really appreciated the Academy experience for that alone. It's just been absolutely fantastic. Sunny, we do have a couple of questions coming through. I'm going to share those with you, and then maybe I can share at the end here for those that are interested in the Genius Academy and opportunities to register. I'll share a little bit more about how you can do that. Our first question is, has PI helped ADD, ADHD kids?
It has, in our experience. ADD and ADHD is so prevalent, right? And only few kids get tested for it. So when we have worked with 35,000 students and we see improvement across the board, you can imagine how many of them would have AD and ADHD or just general inability to sustain focus. I think all of us, right, have a very weak focus. We cannot sustain attention for a long period of time. That is one of the main things, because one of the sounds that we use in the PI technique strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the front of the brain, which is for concentration and for focus. So we have research and we can say that our technique does strengthen the frontal lobe, which is for focus and concentration. So there will be improvement because of the research that we have, and also from what we have seen with the students. And one of the common feedback we get is that I'm able to focus more sharply. That's what the kids will say. Focus is more sharp, and I'm able to sit longer to study. So, I hope that helps you answer that question.
Yeah, that's great. And I can just add to that too, that, with the focus, the results are, I know you mentioned previously that the results of the program, a lot of people see results within the first week or two. And I think what you just spoke to there, focus being such an important emphasis of the program, is one of the reasons why. Sometimes you don't realize how much how many thoughts you're having within a minute, within an hour, and how random they are, how you're bouncing around from one thing to the next until you actually experience the improvement in that focus and you realize the difference in your productivity. It's so, so different to really have pinpointed focus for just 15 minutes versus, thinking about a million other things. So I wanted to share that from my experience too, because my kids have trained with phonemic intelligence, and that was one of the very first things that we noticed. And we also practiced as a family. And I will say that the all-around environment of our home changed when we practiced as a family. We started out, the kids just teaching the kids practiced. And then, actually it kind of happened just naturally that we were practicing because our kids were quite young at the time. And we had to practice with them in order for them to practice. And it was kind of the side effect that I didn't expect, that it changed the way that I thought and I focused and my own energy and anxiety. And coupled with how the kids were developing, it really changed the whole atmosphere of our home, the energy, the vibe. People would come in and say, they would almost notice it. It was palpable in the environment when they come into the house and say, it feels very peaceful, and that's how I felt too. It was a difference between feeling very chaotic in our everyday living and feeling very peaceful. And that in itself was just life-changing. So if I could encourage those of you that are parents or grandparents that have kids in your lives, definitely Sunny's invitation to practice yourselves, take that seriously. It really is life-changing. On that note, Sunny, tell us a little bit about how we touched on the fact that parents can practice. Just logistically, do parents come into the academy and come to the sessions? Do they practice on their own? How does that work?
Well, this program is really for students, right? So we would, so as far as the live session goes, which is once a week, that is more for the students to be there, not for the parent to be present, because we want the child to be interactive. And, once the parent is with them, they behave differently. So this is a program for students. We want the students interacting among themselves. So the parent is not required to be there for that whole session, but what we recommend is when the child practices the techniques on their own every day, which is other days of the week, then you sit with them and you do the practice with them. It will help you to learn some new information, which will be helpful to you as an adult, and you will also get the benefit of the practice. Like Chantal talked about her own experience. You will experience calm. You will feel that focus coming. You will be amazed. That is why we call it effortless. You'll be amazed how quickly and easily you begin to see the benefits. So that is why we call it, it's not a hard process. It's not hard work. It's not going to take a long time. It is a process where the more you do, the more you see results, and it happens naturally and progressively.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Sunny, thank you so much for being with us here today. I want to just share a few details for those who are asking about the program itself. You have some practical questions, so let me see if I can help with those. The program itself will be starting, this beginners program that Sunny has mentioned is starting on January 20th. For those of you that joined our last event, we have extended the enrollment period based on your questions and your desire to have a little bit more time to enroll. So January 20th is the first session. We also have some early enrollment savings that have also been extended to January 17th. This particular beginners program is for children ages 12 to 18. And as Sunny mentioned, parents are invited along to probably use the techniques in your own environment, in your home. You can learn alongside your children how to practice phonemic intelligence. We also have personal intelligence training very specifically for adults. The links to both programs are in the description beneath our video. You can also go to the phonemicintelligence.org website, and you can find from the drop-down programs menu, you can find both programs listed there. The program, so for the Genius course for adults, that's called Personal Intelligence Training. I see some questions coming through. There's a difference in the naming convention of the program. So Personal Intelligence Training for adults is actually a one-on-one program. It's slightly different than the group Genius Brain program for the kids. Personal Intelligence Training, you work privately, one-on-one with a coach. As an adult, you get to come and bring in your goals, the things that you want to work on, any roadblocks that you might have. So it becomes very personalized and very applicable to what you would like to achieve. And your practice itself, your phonemic intelligence practice, is also personalized and works with the target areas of the brain that you need to activate or work with. For the kids, the sessions meet once a week. It's a 5-week course, as Sunny mentioned. Each session is about an hour long. There are some responsibilities in order to practice phonemic intelligence from session to session, but they are very minimal in terms of time commitment. Phonemic intelligence takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes per practice session, depending on the technique that you're using. And kids typically practice a couple of times a day. So that's involved with the program. And then each session is very inviting. It's very interactive. The projects that Sunny mentioned are, in fact, thought experiments that happen within the course itself. There's not a lot of take-home homework beyond that. So this is not a program that's really about memorization or information-based. It's really very experiential. Seeing if there are any other questions here about the program itself. It will be live. The sessions are live. They're also recorded. So if your child has to miss a session, if the time isn't conducive for them, the sessions are held on Sundays at 7 p.m. International Standard Time. If your child has to miss a session, there are recordings that will be put in the Phonemic Intelligence Academy website. So your child has a course that they can access anytime to access the replays or access their materials for their phonemic intelligence practice. That's a very good question. Is there another class session time? So right now, this academy, there is one class session time. However, if this particular class session does not work for your schedule or your child's schedule, there is a link to an interest form that you can fill out and share where you're located, what time zone you're on, the ages of your children, and we will be opening more sessions in the future. Okay, it looks like that's all of our questions for today. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to joining you again, and be sure to use the chat box if you have further questions. Somebody will be in touch with you, and we'll see you again soon next time. Thanks so much.